Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 58 on February 11, 2024. From your favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $11.99 versus the regular price of $19.99 for a total savings of $800. This limited time super discount based or Sports Memo handicapper for only $11.99 versus the regular price of $19.99 for a total savings of $800. This limited time super discount basically is 52 weeks at $23 per week, less than the price of one 4% play, coming out to only $3.29 per day. With the cost of a 30-day all access priced at $2.99, it is almost like getting 8 30-day all access passes at no additional cost. As an added bonus, your all access starts immediately, so the sooner you buy before Super Bowl, the more additional days you get for free.
Hey guys, welcome in. A very happy Thursday to you. It is the college basketball tip-off show. It is powered by a WagerTalk and a pretty good card here tonight across the college basketball landscape. And well, March Madness will be here before we know it. A lot to be decided over these next couple of weeks. We're going to see if we can break down a few of these games here tonight, find a couple of edges. And, of course, we will do it with three of the best here at WagerTalk.com as we welcome in the pen Ralph Michaels in the house, as is the one and only double R and 1L Steve Merrill. And Rob Vino took time out to hang out with us here today, mostly because he needed Merrill to do math for him. So, gentlemen, welcome in. Always a pleasure to see you. Ralph, the pen. I thought of you, Ralph, yesterday. I saw something that resembled a pitcher and a catcher walking around Jupiter. So they are in town. Baseball will be here before we know it. But do you have anything rolling here so far in college basketball tonight?
You know, I have two plays posted, but I do want to mention I have a 5% NHL play. 15-3 lifetime on NHL 5% plays, a perfect 7-0 on NHL 5% totals. Tonight's play is an NHL total. Again, 7-0 run lifetime NHL 5% plays. Don't miss out. WT.buzz. I got to tell you, Joe, I think this is probably, maybe I've done one before. I don't think I've ever done a show with both Merrill and Vino. I am honored.
Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, you have no idea. I'm going to wait until the math gets bust out here. It's absolutely out of control. Vino's got those shot quality numbers. He's ready to roll. Talk to me here, Merrill. What's going on with you tonight at WagerTalk?
Yeah, you think you love it now. Wait till I get started. Yeah. It's going to be a great show indeed. It's well worth the wait, everybody, at WagerTalk TV. And love talking hoops with Ralph, and I usually talk pro basketball with Rob, so it is nice to do college hoops with Rob as well. I haven't done a lot of college shows with him. And Rob, it's not $2 Thursday. You missed that opportunity a couple of days ago, but there's still a great special. Get the rest of this week through the Super Bowl for free when you get all of next year. And that applies to every capper right now at WagerTalk.com. Rob Vino, Ralph Michaels, myself, Steve Merrill. And I'm seeing all sports pretty well right now. Number one ranked in units so far in 2023. Football and basketball on sides. Now, that's mostly basketball, but the football's been good also. And basketball's just been red hot on a 64% basketball run over the past month of over 60 units in college and pro hoops over the past 4 weeks alone. You can still get buy one, get one free. You don't have to decide if you want NBA or college for $179 each. You get them both for $179. Instant 50% discount. It expires this week. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Love that. You see, all that. Oh, that was math, Vino. Did you see that? Now, somehow or another, he's gonna figure out how to include your best bets tonight too. How did you? What's been going on? I know it's been absolutely crazy. We got, of course, the big game coming up on Sunday. NBA has just absolutely been blown up here over the last 10 hours. Been absolutely crazy. And, of course, college basketball. What's ready to go here tonight, Vino?
Well, college basketball is ready to go. There are 2 plays up and loaded for this evening. I'm actually part of a package deal with Marco D'Angelo. The 2 of us together been very successful in college hoops so far this season. So if you go to WagerTalk.com, you can get involved in that promo. But I do have 2 college plays up and ready right now. And Ralph, to get the full effect, you're missing out because you're not joining me and Merrill on $9 Monday, which is when I will basically tell everybody what I have going, and Steve will come in and basically undermine my price to get a better price on his stuff. And then in the end, though, he will promote me, which is what I love the most. So it works out on Mondays a lot better than it does on Thursdays. But glad to be here with all you guys. And Joe, I know we'll be part of the NBA show later. To your point, I think right before we came on, within the last 45 minutes, I saw 21 different players move in the NBA. So by the time we get on the air later on, it's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't wait to break down how John Wall ended up back with the Houston Rockets. Is absolutely beyond me. But, hey, that's coming up at the NBA Tip-Off Show. In the meantime, we are going to kick it out west to start it off here. Pac-12 action tonight as Oregon going to be taking on USC, 11 o'clock Eastern time tip here. Oregon laying 4.5, I believe, in this one. And, boy, Oregon, not what Dana Altman thought was going to happen this year. It's been slow and go for them. 142.5 is an intriguing number, Ralph. How do you approach this Oregon Ducks team at home?
Well, when you're breaking down a game, there's positives on one side, there's negatives on one side, there's positives on one side, there's negatives on one side. I'm going to sort of break this down and give you why I don't want either side, and perhaps that'll make the side you like stronger. Number one, I think Oregon doesn't deserve to be a favorite for the most part. I think USC has the better team, the far better defense. But we know this. We know USC plays their starters almost as much as any team in college basketball. And in fact, if you look at KenPom, their bench minutes are 333. So there's only 30 teams that play their bench fewer minutes. So why is that a concern? Well, the Trojans just lost 6'11" Joshua Morgan, and 6'5" Reese Waters-Dixon is questionable tonight. So you have a team that plays their starters a lot of minutes, and now you are going to be down 1 and perhaps 2. Number 2, USC is not a tall team. We know they play pack defense, a zone defense, which has them the number 1 2-point defense. But Oregon has a huge size advantage. They got 3 guys 6'11" or higher, so they're going to have an edge inside. Can they bust down the zone? We'll wait to see what happens. But I can't get to Oregon because of this. USC, as I said, the number 1 2-point defense and the number 173-point defense. So think back to the Syracuse days, and if you could shoot the 3 and beat the zone, you could sometimes beat Syracuse. Equate that to USC. Well, number 1, Oregon is number 310 in 3-point offense, and they don't shoot a lot of shots. They're 210 in the percentage of points based on threes. So if Oregon were a better 3-point shooting team, I might like them in the situation. If USC wasn't bereft of a starter, perhaps 2 starters, I would like them in this spot. I will mention this. USC 13-10 ATS this year. They're 1-9 as a favorite of 9.5 or more. Their zone defense slows games down. They don't get a lot of margin. But as a small favorite or a dog, the Trojans are 12-3 against the spread this year.
It's been a while, Merrill, I think, since USC's actually had a road game here. It feels like every time we're talking about SC, it's usually either in LA the game or somewhere in California, but an actual road game here. I believe they are now going to travel where Dana Altman and these Oregon Ducks will be waiting. They've been decent at home, not much anyplace else here, but like Ralph said, man, you start weighing the pros and cons for both of these teams. How are you going to approach it tonight?
Yeah, I know Rob Vino loves my props, so I'll give one to Ralph. He kind of went Swiss miss on that, but the beauty is I don't need this because I do like one of the teams here. And Ralph, you actually kind of re-solidified my case for liking Oregon, because you said the one knock on them was they don't shoot the three well, and I totally agree. But I think they probably shoot okay at home, although they've actually shot worse at home this year, a couple points lower, about 0.2 lower at home, which is strange. But it's still a very unique home court advantage in college basketball. And you bring up a good point, Joe, about USC not playing a lot of road games. In fact, they haven't been outside the state of California except once since January 1st, and that's when they had a 2-game trip to Arizona a few weeks ago in late January. So I do think this is a tough venue for them tonight. I also like the fact they're coming off 3 straight home wins. I think it makes it a little bit more of a possible flat spot. And Oregon has quietly won 3 of their last 4. They're starting to play better basketball. The three-point shooting is the concern, because that's how you beat USC. USC is very strong down low. I think USC will have some trouble defending the 3 tonight. I think Oregon gets back on track at home, and I like the Ducks in this one.
All right, back in the Ducks here. It's interesting, boy. The Ducks need something good to happen here, Vino. This would be a nice spot here for them to turn this thing around. But USC been playing really good basketball here. Are you getting in front of that USC train?
I don't think I will, Joe. I mean, if I had to, I would probably lean toward taking 4.5 points here, but I'm going to speak from the total perspective rather than the side here, and just take a look at Oregon, who at home this year against Pac-12 opponents is 4-1 over this posted total tonight of 143. They've scored 145, 163, 155, and 144 in 4 of the 5 home games against Pac-12 opponents this year. The USC side, 3 of their 4 January road games inside the conference also went over this 143. So you got a pretty strong trend developing there for both sides. Now, I'm going to take what Ralph mentioned about injury and add that to build the case for over here, because, for Oregon, Dante could have been in trouble. Right? Now, I don't want to say in trouble, but he could have been neutralized in the middle with both big USC big men. But without Joshua Morgan now, it's up to Vincent Iwuchukwu, who just came back 7 games ago and is only playing 13 minutes per game. In a 40-minute game now by himself at 7-1 in the middle, you're going to ask him to do a little more than he has been accustomed to. And just to put a little bit of light on this, Washington went for a lot of points against USC the other night, Saturday night. I think 72 points were scored by Washington in that game. And if they can do it, certainly Oregon, with their big guy in the middle, who's one of their main scorers, now probably having an advantage at the rim, that helps the Oregon 2-point game, which, is both these guys pointed out, is so prevalent in how they score points. Then if they do shoot the threes any better, it will be a plus for them. On the other side of the coin here, I'm going to look for bounce back games out of USC's top 2 scorers, right? Boogie Ellis and Drew Peterson both shot miserably on Saturday, 4 of 14 each. That's 8 of 28 combined. And the top 2 scorers on the team, they usually don't go dry at the same time. So I think they'll bounce back here, have a pretty good game. All this stuff to me adds up to going over 143. So while it's not a strong lean, I'll take a slight look at over 143 in that game.
All right, a slight look to the over, a little Pac-12 action here late night tonight. We'll go ahead and move on to another game out west. This one is going to feature Stanford laying 3 at home, taking on Arizona State. Total 138.5. This one 10 o'clock Eastern time. And Stanford don't know what to make of this team, Ralph. Sometimes they look really, really good. Especially at some of the mediocre or less than mediocre competition. What category do you put Arizona State in is interesting.
Well, I mean, you got off to a 15-3 start. What's happened? You've lost 5 of 6 games since. Why have they lost 5 of 6 games? Well, they have an offense that has shot 38%, 31%, 34%, 47% against Oregon State, and 44% against Oregon. And that's with 4 of those 6 games at home. They've gotten crushed on the boards. 5 of their last 6 games, they've got out-rebounded by 5 or more rebounds per game. And in that Oregon game, they were in that game. They had 5 or 6 fouls in the first half. They completely let their defense go to crap. They had 20 fouls in the second half. Oregon was in a double-double about midway through the second quarter and pulled away in that game. So now you're asking them to go on the road. You've already lost. You've already failed to cover your last 3 road games. You failed to cover your last 7 games. I look at Stanford, the Oregon State game at home, Oregon at home, Chicago State, which we know is nothing, and California is nothing. So, yes, they went through and they won those 4 home games, with the only true good win was Oregon. But then they beat Utah on the road, a good win, and then lost to Colorado in back-to-back games. I am going to look at when I read the quotes in the Arizona Central with Bobby Hurley and talking about his defense and talking about his rebounds. To me, that's going to lend the look to play the under. He plays a lot of guys. They've been sloppy. They had a meeting after that last loss where they lost 5 of the last 6 or 6 out of the last 7. And when I look at Stanford, they're one of the slowest teams they are. They're the slowest paced team in the Pac-12. They play very slow on defense. Teams are number 307. So that means when teams try to move the ball up against Stanford, you're always running at least 10 seconds off the clock, even before you get into that type of play. I think Arizona State's defense comes up to play. I'm not going to trust Arizona State. As I said, they've lost 7 straight. And Stanford, even with their crappy start where they started the season 5-12, they're still 7-3 as a favorite of 3 or more. So surprisingly, despite the 10-13 record, when they have been a favorite, they've taken care of business. With that said, I'm going to lean under in this one.
All right, going to lean under in it. It was quite the beatdown by Colorado. Little backhand to Stanford there, Merrill. They had been on a nice little roll there. Now they get Arizona State coming in. Do they right this ship here a little bit, do you think, at home tonight?
Yeah, I like where Ralph's going with the under. And something else I'll point out is that Stanford is coming off a terrible defensive performance. So that also gets you kind of liking the under, because I think in general teams bounce back and focus more on defense after a bad showing, especially at the college ranks, because that game was on Sunday at Colorado. It was also the back-to-back of a thin air and altitude spot. And, they were at Utah on the second. It was the second game in 4 nights that they had to play in altitude. So I think there's an excuse for why the defense was so bad on Sunday night. The 5 previous games before that, they'd held every opponent to 40% or lower field goal defense. So I think Ralph's onto something here with the under in a bounce back spot for Stanford. And I also like him from a side perspective for that same reason. Arizona State, as Ralph said, has really struggled offensively in recent games. If Stanford bounces back defensively, as I think they will, that should benefit the Cardinal. And it's also a revenge spot. They lost this game back in December by 4 at Arizona State. So Stanford to the under would be the way I'd play this one tonight.
Looking at Stanford and the under, I mean, they were absolutely atrocious from 3 as well, Rob, in that game. Stanford, 5 of 23. Yikes. Are they going to chuck up another 23? Will they make any more? How confident are you they can hold serve at home?
Yeah, those are all things I'm going to attempt to answer here for you, Joe. The defensive disparity between these two teams really is fairly significant. I mean, Arizona State's the better defensive team by the numbers. There's no question. And, the 2-point field goal defense, again, this comes into play just like it did with USC that we talked about prior. Stanford's going to have to make some threes in order to crack the Arizona State defense. Depending upon which way you look at the first result between these two is probably how you frame this game. You could look at it and say, you know what? Stanford was plus 5.5 on the road. They shot horrendous from 3, 6 of 27, 22%. And they only lost the game by 4, and they covered despite not shooting any threes. So if they get a few here, you might like them. However, you go to the Arizona State side and say, we laid 5.5. We shot even worse from 3 in that game, 4 of 23 for 17%, and we still won by 4. These two teams combined, they took 53 pointers in that first meeting. They missed 40 of them. They missed 40 out of 50. Something's got to give. I like under. I'm a little scared, though, because that game with 40 missed threes out of 50 still hit 132, and this number is only 139. That's the scary part about this. I like the desperation on the Arizona State side. Right now, if you look at it, it's that time of year where you get into this bracketology and who needs what. And just because you need it doesn't mean you get it. But Arizona State's kind of in that category of next 4 out. and it's a pretty critical stretch for them at this point in time that they got to start here. It's probably why the quotes Ralph was giving us from Bobby Hurley are coming out now. He's trying to, sort of take his team down the home stretch here and crack the whip a little bit. I think, I don't want to lay 3 with Stanford in this game whatsoever. So I think the best way when you have counter arguments like this is to take the points in a game that looks fairly even, although I've seen Arizona State, we've all seen Arizona State go to the road and push the pace. I think back to the Oregon game where I thought it was going to be a defensive-minded game, and Arizona went to a up-tempo offense and wound up scoring 90 points. They have that capability. Stanford does not. I think there's more attributes to the Arizona State side, so I probably lean that way +3.
All right, gonna be an interesting one out west there tonight in that one. Arizona State, can they get back on track? Gonna be a good battle here. Maybe none better tonight though than what we're gonna get, and believe it or not, Conference USA as UAB Jelly in the house taking on North Texas. 2.5 for North Texas right now. That total 128.5 there, and of course. North Texas trailing just behind FAU, the Owls in the conference. UAB just took down those FAU Owls. Boy, oh boy, it's an intriguing matchup here because, Ralph, North Texas is going to want to, they're going to want to slow this thing down. It's going to be like watching paint dry. UAB, though, are they going to play game here, or is UAB going to dictate pace and do what they want in this matchup?
Well, Joe, that's the question, and I don't think any of us has an answer. Here's the situation. When you're watching North Texas on TV, right? And if UAB makes a free throw, when North Texas is bringing the ball up, you have time to go to the bathroom and grab a beer and come back, and they still haven't shot the ball yet.
So true.
Okay, let's put it in perspective. There's 363 teams. And North Texas is number 363 in tempo, dead last. UAB is number 24 in tempo, number 17 when their offense has the ball. So you want to talk about unique styles. This is it. You got to remember, though, back when they played on January 21st, North Texas came into UAB. I think they were a 3-point dog. They won by 11. They held UAB 1 of 10 3-point shooting. But that was one of the 5 games that Jelly missed. So him being here, he's the best player in the conference. This was a kid who played well in Tulane, has been a superstar at UAB, and makes all the difference. I lean UAB with the revenge factor, with Jelly now back. I think I did the show with Vino and Mejia last week, and we didn't know if Walker was going to play against Florida Atlantic, and we said, he's probably a 6 or 7 point difference. If you're watching him warm up and he's going to play, you want to be on UAB. And they did take care of business in that revenge situation, winning 86-77. I like a situation where the best team in the conference has underperformed for some reason. That was clearly with Jelly's injuries. And now they're looking up at a team in the standings. And in this situation, with revenge off the home loss, I lean UAB here.
All right, leaning UAB. Interesting enough, North Texas still has let's look at a shot here as to make the tournament. These games are pretty important down the stretch. It's that time of year, Merrill, where Conference USA teams, where some of these they still got a shot, especially with FAU being as good as they have been this year. Are you going revenge angle, pace angle? How do you look at this game tonight?
Yeah, last year, North Texas extremely slow as well. They played twice last year, and the most recent meeting last season was 58-57. North Texas winning outright as a 4-point dog. The meeting before that, they did lose, though, as a home favorite of 2.5, 69-63. And, of course, as Ralph said, the earlier meeting here about 2 weeks ago, 63-52. Goes to my point that I've always been a believer that slow down teams versus fast teams, they can slow a fast team down a lot easier than a fast team can speed up a slow team. So I do think the tempo will be slow in this game. But as some of the good points that Ralph brought up, Jelly being out of the last game, I'm not going to read too much into that. It is a revenge spot for UAB, which gives me some pause as far as backing the slowdown team. Normally, if this was a revenge spot for North Texas at home, laying a short number, slowing the game down, I would really like the mean green. But the fact that UAB lost the last meeting, they've got the revenge, and they didn't have their best player is what's going to keep me off this game. We've actually seen a little bit of money to the over. Surprisingly, it opened 128.5. It's up to 129. And we've also seen the line drop from 3 down to 2.5. So UAB and over money would make sense, as they're probably somewhat correlated. I'm going to stay off this game tonight, though, because I just am not ever looking to play an over with North Texas, the slowest team in the country.
You know, a lot of things, Rob. You look at that, you saw that plus number next to UAB, beating FAU, revenge spot, best player in, and you're like, oh, man, that's the dog of the night. Or is it in your mind?
Yeah, the only thing that you don't have to make that a, full circle, Joe, is that UAB is not home. If they were home, to add to all that, you probably would be all over UAB. Here we're in North Texas, but North Texas has not been good at home against Conference USA opponents. 1-5 against the spread, but we have to be fair to North Texas and point out that for those 5 games, they're favorites of 9 or more. So certainly not in this price range. The only time they've been in this price range against the Conference USA team was against Florida Atlantic. They laid 2. Tonight they're laying 2.5. And FAU beat them. And FAU is an up-tempo team, but that final score was 50-46. 96 points. They didn't even reach 100. UAB, to the other point, real quick here, that everybody's been driving home, they're 7-1 over the total in Conference USA games that Jordan Walker's been involved in. So when he's around, they score a bunch of points. When he's not around, they were playing some unders. The first game they played this season, these two teams, it was the lowest possession game UAB has played all season long, 61 possessions. So, you go back, and Steve did the work, went back to last year. I did the same. And you find that it's comparable because 4 of the players that start for North Texas this year were there last year. 3 of the starters for UAB, including Jordan Walker, were there last year. UAB went to the transfer angle and got a couple of faster paced scorers to add to their unit from LSU and East Tennessee. So maybe they, but their tempo rating is no better than it was last year. Andy Kennedy ball remains the same. So again, you're back and forth with this under over. Is the number fair? Is it not fair? The only fast-paced team that came in here and was able to get over the 70 mark was Rice. And Rice won that game 72-60. Can UAB do the same? They could. I mean, they got to 69-63 in one of the efforts last year that hit 132. So I think the odds maker has everything priced real well here. If I were to lean, I'd probably still lean with the North Texas side. I think Steve hit it best. Not only can slower teams slow fast teams down, but especially at home, I like to give the tempo edge to the home team. So maybe I'd lean North Texas minus the short price.
All right, there you go. 3 games here tonight, guys. Each of them an opportunity there to, cash a few tickets depending on how you want to approach it. But it is a great card here tonight, East Coast to West Coast. Plenty of opportunities here. Now let's see if there is a game here on the board tonight these guys like a little bit more than the rest. And Ralph, we'll start with you. Which one of these games did you circles for us here tonight?
Well, Joe, I'm picking team number 3. Ooh. That's if you look at the Ken Palms, 363 teams, and you start at the bottom. I'm picking number 3, number 361, Green Bay. So, I have to pick one of the worst teams in Ken Palm ratings. I'm picking the 3rd worst team, and I'm looking at a situation for the Phoenix. Listen, they're 3-22. They're a horrible team. But what happened? They're off a win against Milwaukee. What happened a week and a half ago? They fired their coach. They brought in an interim. When you saw these kids celebrate that last win against Milwaukee, it made a big deal. It was a big deal for an interim head coach and a team that's still trying. They're just overmatched. Does Oakland deserve to be this big of a favorite? They're only 10-15, and I don't think they do. When I looked up 2 situations. Now, these are similar, so there is an overlap. But in February, so we're talking late in the regular season, when a team is at home as a dog of over 7 off a win, they are 61%. FYI, if they're off 2 wins, they're actually 66%. That is like St. Thomas against Oral Roberts today. But Green Bay fits the mode for 60.4% against the spread. That's February teams as a home dog of 7.5 off a win. Also, when I look at teams off a win that have a win percentage under 20% and game number 18 or higher. So Green Bay is 3-22, so we're 25 games into the season. When a team with a win percentage, again, under 20% is off a win late in the year, those teams have covered 65.1%. So, to me, it's an interesting situation because Green Bay is not playing at this at their normal home. They're playing it at the Crest Center. The guys play at one center, which is bigger. The Crest Center is a smaller venue, only holds like 3,000, where the women normally play. They're playing this game in the Crest Center, so very small, where I think they might actually have some home court edge. Off the win, I'm going to ride that momentum and take the 11 with the Phoenix.
All right, going with the Phoenix here tonight with Ralph. Great stuff there. Merrill, what are you thinking? Which one of these games might you be leaning towards for a best bet tonight?
Going to look at a free late night national TV play in college basketball for a free play here for Thursday night. Just a quick reminder, I have been seeing it well in 2023. In fact, nobody has won more units so far this year at WagerTalk.com. Football and basketball sides combined are up over 50 units already. In fact, basketball over the past 4 weeks up over 60 units. And it's going to continue with another strong best bet tonight on Thursday. I've also got my Super Bowl top play available as well. And don't forget, NFL Fade the Public Super Bowl edition will be posted tomorrow and Friday. Hit subscribe and hit the bell for an instant alert here on WagerTalk TV, along with my college basketball top 25 video for Saturday. Okay, let's look at a free play on the late card. And it is the late card, 11 o'clock Eastern Thursday night on ESPN2. The Deuce. We're going to look at a Pac-12 battle. And I like Oregon minus the 4 to 4.5. It's a situation in which the Ducks at home, it's always been one of the stronger home courts in college basketball. That's been the case this year. They're 10-4 straight up at home versus just 4-6 away. And it's a little bit more than just a straight up win situation, but I think they get the win and the cover here against a USC team that's only played one set of games outside of the state of California since January 1st. That was a brief 2 and 3 day trip a couple weeks ago to Arizona. They've come back and won 3 straight home games since, and now they're traveling to a difficult environment. Oregon has struggled to shoot the 3 this year, but I think they get back on track tonight against a USC defense that's been much weaker defending the 3 than down low. Look for the Oregon Ducks to have a nice, impressive win tonight on the late night card at 11 Eastern on ESPN2. Oregon minus the 4.5, a free play for Thursday night. And don't forget, a powerful best bet tonight on Thursday, my Super Bowl best bet as well. A lot of value right now, and you can still get buy one, get one free, a 50% instant discount on college and pro hoops. We're up over 60 units the last 4 weeks. Get the next month for half price right now. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
All right, good stuff
Hey,
there.
Joe, can I ask Steve a question?
Go.
Hey, Steve, is Oregon's home court so strong still because the players get dizzy with that view of all those trees on that damn court?
It's Ralph, their uniforms have always been borderline the worst in sports, and it's funny you say that because you all have met the reigning 3-point defending champion. By the way, Rob Vino, August 19th, Saturday, August 19th, save the date. It looks like the next basketball get together. Ralph will be there as well. Joe Ranieri will be golfing and getting dehydrated as we hoop it up. But anyway,
correct.
I showed my son that gym the other night, and we both said the same thing, Ralph. We're like, this is borderline unfair. So, yes, they might get dizzy, but I think they're used to it by now. I think it is actually an unfair home court. It's ridiculous. And if you haven't seen it, and instead of Robert showing us something useful, he's showing me why you always make him go right.
Is that Robert putting the moves on? Look at that.
The funny thing is, Robert, after that basket, is now only 38,978 points away from tying LeBron.
Oh, is that the second time Merrill jumped, Rob? Did you fake him out once and he had to jump once and then try to jump again as you were
count of only
drilling
1 foot
the 3?
gets off the ground for me.
Nothing but net, too.
Slide an index card under my feet.
Fantastic. Talk to us, Vino. See, now Vino and I are going to have to go to this basketball match. Vino, talk to us. What do you want? Where do you want to go here tonight? Some intriguing spots. Which one's your circle?
Listen, first off, Joe, I was part of that basketball match last year, and I was on the floor running point. Here's my advice to Steve Merrill and his trophy-holding son. When the gym opens at 10:30 and all of us older guys are in there playing 2 hours of pickup basketball before you even show up, of course you're going to win the title. His son is shooting threes fresh against a bunch of guys that just ran around for 2 hours. So, Steve, show up on time this year. And maybe somebody, I don't know. It's a sore subject with Ski because he's had the trophy taken from him 2 years in a row. But
that's correct.
At any rate, the basketball is a fun event. And by the way, to Steve's son's credit, I mean, it was all on the line with his final shot, and he drained that shot without touching any rim. So it was as clutch could get. I'm going to go ahead and maybe we can call this the, Merrill Vino parlay here, because I'm going to go right to the game that Steve talked about, but I'm going to play it over for a couple of reasons here. And if Oregon does shoot threes halfway decent tonight, like Steve suggested, he thinks they will, then I think it's even better. Ralph talked about the injury situation with Joshua Morgan for USC, and I'm just going to point out a couple of numbers. Since he went down 2 games ago, he played 5 minutes in that game against Washington State, and then he didn't play at all against Washington. The power forward center combination for Washington and Washington State combines to go 23 of 32 from 2-point range. Remember, we were focusing on how good USC's 2-point defense is, but the 2 big guys for both of these teams combined to go 23 of 32 last 2 games without Morgan, 71.9% from the field. And they scored 73 total points in those games with the 4 and the 5.
Wow.
Dante is a scoring machine, can be a scoring machine in the interior, and I think Oregon's going to find it a lot easier to score at the rim tonight than teams have against USC so far this season. So I think Oregon will get theirs. Again, I think Boogie Ellis and Drew Peterson, these guys combined to go 2 for 14 from 3 last game. I think USC only made 4 threes total and still scored 80 points. They've got enough weaponry to score on the Oregon defense. So give me over 143. I pointed out a lot of numbers that these teams have gone over in Pac-12 play over this 143. I think it happens again. So give me over 143 USC Oregon.
All right, looking for a little over tonight in that matchup. We've got another over, too, that our good friends at thegoldsheet.com. And, of course, we always encourage you guys to head over to goldsheet.com. Great write-ups on the games, great tools, analytics, stats, everything you need to know in order to make better handicapping decisions over at thegoldsheet.com. They're going to go Iowa-Purdue. And they're going to like points. They're pointing out, of course, that the number 2 team versus the number 3 team in Ken Palm's offensive efficiency metrics, thanks to Rob Vino. Purdue's Zach Edey, by the way, he's a big boy, guys. He's pretty much going to tower over just about anybody, any one of those Iowa defenders. He's got, obviously, a big edge there. And Iowa, we know they play at one of the fastest paces in the Big Ten. They're also both really good free throw shooting teams. So when you put it all together, expect some points here tonight. Our friends at the Gold Sheet, yep, they like points. And I like points too in a game. I'll go late night. I'll bite. How about BYU Pepperdine to score 198 points? Sounds good. They almost did the first go around in a 91-81 clash. I don't see a whole lot changing from that, as Pepperdine will play as much defense as Steve Merrill just did in that picture. And they also have to be a top 50 offense, so there will be no problem for either of these teams getting 80 points here tonight. I'll take the over in BYU and Pepperdine. And one more time, guys. Yep, we've got Ralph Michaels going. Green Bay plus 11 here tonight. Would expect nothing less from Ralph Michaels than to give us a Wisconsin Green Bay plus 11. We got Merrill going Oregon laying the 4.5, mostly because that court is just unfair. Vino, he likes the over, though, in that USC Oregon game. 143 is the number there. The over in the BYU Pepperdine game for me, and the Gold Sheet. Iowa, Purdue, over The 149.5. And of course, best bets are available at wagertalk.com for all three of these gentlemen here. You can go to Ralph Michaels' page, you can go to Steve Merrill's page, Rob Vino's page. Guys, obviously, there's a big game coming up on Sunday. There's a lot surrounding that. All three guys locked and loaded, ready to go with the Super Bowl. And then, of course, plenty of college basketball, NBA, and you heard Ralph talk about big NHL play tonight here, guys. Visit Ralph's page. He's been crushing it on the ice. That's where you go grab that right now. WagerTalk.com. Visit all three of these gentlemen, and then make plans to come back and join us again tomorrow as we get ready for a big weekend card in college basketball. So much going on this weekend in the world of sports. We'll get you ready for it. Come back and join us tomorrow here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Until then, on behalf of Ralph, Steve, and Rob Vino, we appreciate the time, guys. Best of luck with all your plays here tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 58 on February 11, 2024. From your favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $11.99 versus a regular price of $19.99 for a total savings of $800. This limited time super discount basically is 52 weeks at $23 per week, less than the price of one 4% play, coming out to only $3.29 per day. With the cost of a 30-day all-access priced at $2.99, it is almost like getting 8 30-day all-access passes at no additional cost. As an added bonus, your all-access starts immediately, so the sooner you buy before Super Bowl, the more additional days you get for free.